Mónica Rikić is like a tech whisperer. She blends creative coding and media art to build psychedelic robots, infinite music boxes, spiritual portals, and micro-societies made of gadgets. But don't be fooled by the trippy visuals. These devices aren't just for show. They're her way of posing powerful, eternal questions about who we are as humans and where we're headed. So let's see how this magic really works.
I always try to explain my pieces because for me it's a conversation and a way of representing my artistic research. And one of the strategies that I found that it was more useful for my needs was to work in different layers. So I always have an aesthetic layer that it's ready for whoever, that is trying to catch the attention, and keep the public and the audience wondering what's going on, so it's moving, it's colorful, so you keep them interested. And then I go to the more conceptual one. I'm very interested in philosophy. I did a master's in philosophy, and especially in philosophy of technology. So I have like a very deep understanding that maybe it's not that easy to explain, but with this first layer, I catch the attention, and then I create this conceptual click where I try to create with these theatrical devices, as I describe my works, as spaces of critical thinking and discussion. And then the other layer, which is the geek layer. I build the things myself, so I'm a real geek, and I like to share, and to experiment, as I was saying before, I think with my hands. So how can we, understand technological systems and bring meaning to the world through art with technology by doing that. One of my obsessions is accessibility of art and art pieces, and especially of very difficult concepts, maybe, for mainstream audiences, about very deep stuff. So humor, it's a very good way for making people, feel attached or feel identified with something that is happening, something that you're explaining that, as I said, may be complicated. And I always try to explain it somehow as a joke or as a little tale, that brings you little by little inside the full concept. So you feel comfortable watching it.
Dejarían de verse como un asunto privado, tal vez. Serían asuntos públicos y comunes. Una cuestión política.
So Maura, this project is actually conceptually a very complicated project because it's talking about assistive robotics. So in a way, it's talking about how we are projecting an aging society in the future and who is going to take care of this society. The strategy that I created for doing this documentation, because the video is actually a documentation of all this artistic research that I've been doing for the past year, it was like, okay, let's try to explain it as a tale. And I started talking about my own experience, like not knowing what to do as a single woman, nearly to the 40s, where am I going to have a house or not? So people instantly, catch that. I always work with colors, and I put some bubbles, I put some things that you don't really know what's going on, but somehow they are engaging through this humor or through this toy-like. I must say that I come from experimental video games, and that's also something that is very present there. And the video, it starts a little bit funny, but then suddenly you're talking about politics, you're talking about labor, you're talking about aging people, you're talking about robots substituting humans, So it's raising different questions from this position of humor and storytelling that serves me for my main purpose, which is translating all this very deep research that is still going on. The most interesting part of new technologies as AI is when they get boring. And that's when people lose the fear of experimenting with them, And I really defend that we need to bring our meaning to the world through using these technologies and learning about them. And I really think that art is a way for doing that. So if we think that technology is something that only engineers can do or that only big companies can do, we're going to be very separated and very controlled in a way by these technologies. And I think art and artistic practices and hacking, or maker spaces can break these boundaries, break these differences of different fields and make people more, more brave or more willing to experiment with that. I think that digital art in 10 years, I don't know, we never know. That's the good thing about the future, right? It's like, let's surprise me, please, But if we're talking about an ideal world, I think that it could be like something that it's very human, and let's say that way. I don't really defend this idea of superhuman, but something that can break us through of creating, So the functional parts, they will be done by AI, that we will be in this playground, which is art. And I think digital art can bring us this playground of experimentation. I think it'll be super normal to be assembled with technology in a very more like casual way. So we will have like this, robot hand that will help us eating, and it will be super normal, and nobody will be questioning if that's human or not. So the interesting thing about technology is it doesn't think by itself, It always has tasks to do. Although people think that they will be sentient, they will be completely autonomous, they kind of won't, but they will be personalized. So they will amplify our way of thinking. Maybe we will all have our own little, let's say, AI or robots, and they will do whatever we want them to do. So the task will be very customized. And I think that's the good thing, because they will be really serving us for our purposes. How can they serve me? You know what I am? I'm very, very messy. And every time when I think of a robot and I'm working on my studio, I'm like, I wish I had a robot that would take all these knobs, and bolts and fix everything and clean everything and broom. Please, I need that. And not just a Roomba, like a real brooming, tidying up system, please. Things that made me excited about the future. It's a difficult question. Let's say I'm trying not to be too positive. I think that when the technological systems become a little bit less polluting and also more personal, so they can be more adjustable to your needs, people will have more agency on them. So I'm really looking forward all these alternative technologies and alternative devices that people will create, that it will be their own. So let's see what happens then.